for the Sportster fitment, we're wondering how we kick off the video. Like,
You just did it.
what?
I think, because for Clockworks, right, we have a huge love of Sportsters. We started with Sportsters. My dad's friends had baggers, right? And we couldn't afford those bikes, right? I was lucky my dad's friends had them. It got me into it. But in the meantime, all my buddies had Sportsters. So we built Sportster choppers. We built Pro Street Sportsters. We built drag bike looking Sportsters, you name it, right? Because that was our thing. That's what we had. And then in the meantime, the evolution of the FXRP fairing, which I took off of Iris, is now back, right? And everybody's like, it's too big for a Sportster. It's not too big for a Sportster. A lot of people will change out their tank just for a little more capacity. It even looks greater with that. I prefer the traditional Sportster tank like this just because it's a Sportster. I love a Sportster. I don't know why people run from Sportsters. You should run two Sportsters because they're the lightest, most compact, perfect unit. All of this is one block. You take this whole thing out easy, right? So if you want to paint the frame, make it custom, just one big chunk. I love it, right? People will say they're for short people, they're for girls, they're this, they're that. It's all crap, right? And now you have people like Pat from Lead Sled who go to Sturgis and their only goal is to have Sportster only shows, right? I love that. Pat's built more cool Sportsters than I could shake a stick at, right? But the beauty of this is Rusty Butcher has put these fairings on his bikes before, and we're just trying to make it easy for this customer, okay? So let's say this is your first ever bike. You now have a 2010 Road Glide or something, right? And you're not going to get rid of this.
Yep.
Okay. But now all of a sudden your girlfriend wants to ride. You don't really want to spend money on a new bike and you're not going to get rid of your old one. So what is the conundrum there? It's like, how is she going to tour with you on this, which is totally not fair with you riding a Road Glide? Oh, no problem. We have an FXRP fairing kit. Boom, it's on here. And now you have two touring bikes in your family and you didn't have to get rid of Old Faithful. Does that make sense?
It sure does.
Okay, glad I could help.
Hey, thanks.
No
You
problem.
heard it first. That's why we do Sportster things. For those of you who are considering getting a fairing for your 86 to 03 Sportster, our number one first step will be to verify what comes in the box. You should have one of these big things, one of the fairings, headlight bucket, fairing mount. You should have 6 bags labeled from B through G. I know it doesn't really make sense. Bag A is missing. It's really not. It's actually inside this box with our headlight cover. You'll have your neck bracket, your mustache bar, your lower support, and of course, it wouldn't be a Clockworks fairing without a 9-inch dark smoke FXRP windshield. Step 2, we want to make sure, just with all these bolts and nuts flying, we want to protect that paint. So we're going to put on a fender cover.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that. Just putting that on there.
Sure am. Remove windshield and fairing if equipped. We do not currently have a detachable windshield on this bike, but if you did, you would just take it off there. Remove headlight and mount. Step 4. This is a big one right here. Couple things you're going to want to make sure you have for this. Camera and depinning tools. Those are going to be your two best friends. You take this out. Oh, look, it's already unplugged. We're working on things. That's why it's unplugged. Up in here, up inside the headlight cover, as you can see, we already have some of the connectors out. And there's still one that's pinned together. But go to your local auto parts store or anything like that, and you'll get yourself a pair of these. Those are depinning tools. There's a little lock on each one of these connectors, and you find the corresponding depin tool, and you stick it inside the connector. You fold that little lock back, and then pull it out the back of there. Where your camera comes in is you want to make sure you're taking pictures not only of the connector for orientation purposes, but also for the color. And what I mean by that is you might have one blue wire solid, and then you might have one blue wire with a white tracer. Well, if you get those backwards, something's not going to work right. So camera, depinning tools. Once you get all that done, you take off these 2 1/4-inch bolts for the brow. where you just do one of those. Now that we have this bare, okay, our next step will be this guy. This is our lower support. This is the piece that a bolt goes through that actually holds your lower neck bracket. So once we have this in and installed on the bike, this guy right here will go around your gas tank, and then this guy will go right here. So you're just going to go after these two bolts right here, which is your upper motor, your front motor mount, I should say. We'll grab G.
Good catch.
You'll have your carriage bolt, a nut and a washer. All we need is a carriage bolt for now. And what we're going to do is, this is going to sit like this on the bike. So all we're going to do is throw this guy in there, just like that. And then we'll bolt it up like this from the bottom. Just got to get this thing started. There it goes. And then, so what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to leave about 2 turns loose so that, see that? This is going to help us get that upper neck bracket on a lot easier. Our next step is we'll go ahead and we'll take out this upper tank bolt. Be careful of your washers. Be careful of your washers. That's why they make me use fender covers, in case you didn't know. So we'll go ahead, we'll throw this guy in there. And then we're going to go into bag F. Inside bag F, you will find your bolts for your fuel tank and for your lower support. We'll go ahead and install the upper first. Once you get that through, you're not going to have to hold on to it. And same with this guy, just how we left this just slightly loose. We can adjust here. When it goes to tightening down these brackets and these bolts, be sure to refer to your instructions for the proper torque values. That's something you're going to want to pay attention to, because the last thing you're going to want to do is either strip a bolt out, crack the fiberglass, or just do something you shouldn't be in the first place. Beep. I don't know how people, what do you guys think? Do you think people back home with their Sportsters, are they click type torque wrenchers, or are they beep type? I don't know. Using bag D, install the fairing and the fairing mount adapter. Okay, so now we're getting into the fun stuff. Bag D. What you're going to find in here is 4 bolts, 8 washers, 4 nuts. This is an important piece, and the reason being is it has this notch right here. That notch indicates that this is the bottom. If we don't get that on the bottom, your headlight bucket's not going to line up right. And then what happens after that? Well, now your headlight's not going to face right. And so the main reason and why we're doing this when it's not painted is we want to make sure that everything's going to work the way it should, and we want to make sure there's no rubbing. There shouldn't be, just because when the fairing arrives to you, it'll be pre-cut, pre-drilled, everything, but just to make sure, we got to do it. Then send it out to paint. Then when you get back from paint, then yeah, be really careful. Your fairing's going to be at the paint shop for a week, if not a little longer, just with the prep and the paint and letting everything dry. So that's a perfect opportunity for you to get back out into the garage or back out into the shop and figure out how you want to not only do your wiring, but maybe you want to reroute the wiring. Maybe you want to clean it up a little bit. Make sure that you guys send pictures and post up on social and tag us and let us know. Drop some comments. What do you think? What are your plans? So our next step will be to install the mustache bar. Reason why we install the mustache bar when the fairing is still loose is just like the neck bracket, right? You have 4 bolts that go into that fairing, and if we tighten it down, there's a chance that those bolts aren't going to line up. So if we get everything lined up where it needs to be when it's loose, when we go to tighten it down, we'll make sure that there's no binding, and we're not going to risk cracking anything. We're going to go lower support to fairing. Once we get the lower support to fairing bolts in, then that's when we can go ahead, tighten down the fairing, tighten down the mustache bar, tighten down our lower support pieces. So we'll have 4 bolts, we'll have 8 washers, and then we'll have 4 nuts again. What we have found here at Klockworks is we particularly like the look of the bolts going from the bottom up to the top so that the nut is on the top. On the mustache bar, it gives you a little bit of a cleaner look. So I'll show you guys the difference quick. That's what that would look like. But then if you had done it the other way, you'd have this big nut, and you'd have that big nut and then also thread sticking out the bottom. So this is just a more clean, more finished look. That's why we use fender covers. Voila. Perfect. So now that we have all that on, next thing we're going to want to do is basically we're just going to want to make sure that we're pretty centered. You can use a couple different vantage points. You can use the forks to the outside of the fairing. You can use this indented line here in the fairing to your center bolt on your mustache bar. So you have a few different vantage points you can use there.
Vantage or reference?
Reference, sorry. Vantage point, wasn't that a movie?
I feel like that's when you're like up high looking down on people.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, vantage point, yeah. Right. Hey. Hey, thanks. This is going to take a 9/16. Again, refer to your instructions for your torque value. She's tight. Good to go. She's not going anywhere. She's tight, buddy. Our next step will be to install our headlight adapter, otherwise known as a spring bucket. We're going to take out our headlight trim ring. It's going to be the 3 Phillips head screws. This will go on one way. Your indicator is going to be this tab with this screw. You point that down, you are go for launch, buddy. We're going to be using bag C. This is where I would use that little dab of Loctite. A little bit will go a long way. So I would just add one little drop down towards the base of the thread here, because as you thread that in, that Loctite will travel up the bolt, really allowing that good seal. I shouldn't say seal, it's not sealing any fluid. It'll make it good and Loctitey.
Yeah, that's definitely better.
It'll be good and secure.
Good and Loctitey.
Loctitey. Once you get one bolt in, it'll hold itself there, so you can grab the other 3. I would not go and tighten all the bolts down at once. I would get all of them in just a couple threads. This allows a little bit of movement for you going together. Once you get all 4 of them in, that's when I would go ahead and cinch them down. Click.
Is there different settings that you're putting it on?
Nope, same setting.
Just different noises?
Beep. Yeah. Now we're going to take our 7-inch headlight. The 7-inch headlight will not come in the kit that that we provide you. So we're using a Drag Specialties headlight here. So we'll go ahead and grab this. Remember what I said about this trim ring. It will only go on one way. So what I mean by that is, okay, that one lines up. That whole lines up, but this one doesn't. So Looks like we got to turn it. Whoop. How about that? Oh, there it is. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Man, almost like I know what I'm doing. God, my hands are so sweaty.
We can make
No, I'm
like
just
a
kidding.
10-minute video of just him saying, "God, is it hot in here?" He's like, "See that?"
We can go ahead and start with the windshield now. For the windshield, what you'll find is 7 well nuts. These little rubber guys. Okay, I'll show you the trick to getting those in here in a second. You'll also have 7 screws and 7 washers. So I'm going to go ahead and get these washers on all these screws. And then one of the things you're going to want to do, both with your windshield and with your headlight cover, is you're going to want to check these well nuts. The reason being is you do not want to be the guy who pushes all of his well nuts in, gets all 6 bolts in, goes to put the 7th one in, and it won't thread. Because then you got to take the windshield all the way back off. So run it through till the thread comes out the bottom of the well nut. Yeah. Thread it out to where it's flush. Give her a lick. Squeeze her in there. Remove your screw.
I can't wait to see you do that 6 more times.
Now this one's for you, Jacob.
Don't make eye. Oh gosh. Make sure you make eye contact.
It's good.
You missed your mouth.
That hurt my lip, dude. I fucking just went, what? Really got a hold of that one.
He was too excited.
All right. So we have all 7 of our walnuts in. We'll go ahead and grab our 9-inch dark smoke windshield. Now, the thing you guys are going to want to remember is most of you are not going to grab a torque wrench to tighten down these well nuts. So for those of you who are not going to use a torque wrench, it is not very tight. I call it 2-finger tight. And what I mean by 2-finger tight is you literally use 2 fingers on a screwdriver and that's it. This is 2-finger tight. That's 2-finger tight. God damn it, Sheldon. You're a motherfucker, you know that? You keep fucking me up. 2-finger. 2 fingers. 2-finger Tommy. So we installed this windshield 2-finger tight, right? With our screwdriver. It's not going to go anywhere. So tighter is not always better when it comes to windshields.
Way to put that in there. Just whoa, wait a minute.
Well, I don't know where you're going with that, but I'm talking windshield fairing.
Tight isn't necessarily better here because everywhere else
True.
you need to.
That's exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. Headlight
It does not
cover.
come with it.
Your headlight cover will not come with this gasket already installed on the cover. So, 2 things you're going to want to look for. Number 1 is on the bottom of this headlight cover. Again, we make sure that everything goes on one way. So, these notches here, this is the bottom, goes on one way. We recommend you can do whatever you want. It's your fairing. But see that seam right there, that glued seam? If you put that at the bottom, it's not as much of an eyesore being up at the top of the fairing. It's actually on the downward curve, so you really don't see it. It kind of disappears. The other thing you're going to want to do is, now that I have successfully got my grimy fingerprints on the inside of this lens, we're going to clean this lens before we install it.
Ooh.
Jacob, are you ready to Sturgis?
I don't know. I mean,
Pretty sure last time I checked, that was a requirement.
by who?
Of just Jacob. By some friends of yours.
Oh. Yeah.
You've been practicing?
A little bit.
Nice. Bro, I could totally teach you how to do a burnout.
How'd that go with Jordan?
We are not getting into that. Don't you scare my friend.
Me?
Yeah, you. I asked him if he knew how to do a burnout.
And his
And
response?
He said yes, so I didn't help him. And so he went to do a burnout, and it wasn't really a burn, but it was more of an out.
He nailed the out part.
He nailed the out part. He didn't nail the burn part very well. But, okay, here we go. What do you guys think? Love to hear in the comments. You know, what would you do? What kind of headlight would you run? Where would you put the wires? Guess what I'm using?
What are you using?
Shine Works. Gets that thing looking so fresh and so clean.
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. Are you guys gonna run your brow piece or not? Reason I ask is because you take a little pick, pop that little guy off. Right inside that guy, you're gonna take that nut off. You're gonna use a 3/4.
I'll ride it.
Okay, you ride it. You're right here. I'm right here.
Sitting backwards, taking photos.
Ciao.
I don't know. I think two dudes on a Sportster riding a Sturgis sounds like a great time.
I don't know nothing about that. So we took our nut out, we took our headlight off. Squeeze that back down on there. You have two options. Either one, you can leave this brow piece off so you can see your neck bracket, which then you can also see your little brass badge down here, kind of. But one of the ways that you might be able to just finish off the look, do one of these.
I feel like it's easier to put that on before you put your fairing on.
Depends on who you ask. I mean, majority of the population would probably agree with you.
But if you ask Ryan,
But if you ask me, it's nuts and bolts. This adds a cool little flair to it, if you will. Kind of gives you a little bit of coverage there. Really allows you to do whatever you'd like. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Please let us know in the comments what you think. If you have any questions, reach out to us. What kind of bags would you put on if this was your Sporty? Be mindful of the exhaust on this side too. Check us out on social media. Check us out on YouTube. Visit us on Facebook. Come visit us here in Mitchell, South Dakota. You guys are in perfect time. August 3rd, Thursday, pre-Sturgis party right here. And then ride out with us Friday morning to Sturgis. Whatever.
yeah. What you drinking there?
Blue raspberry. Body armor. Super hydration. Water's for pussies.
Next time I see you drinking water, you said
Yep. Oh, I know it.
Shoot it.